So at the beginning of this set of notes, we worked on multiplying just fractions. Now we're going to work on multiplying mixed numbers. So the only difference here is that we have to change the mixed numbers to improper fractions first. So when we multiply, we cannot just multiply the whole numbers and multiply the fractions like we did when we added and subtracted. When we added and subtracted, we just added the whole numbers, added the fractions, and moved on. When we multiply, we have to change our mixed numbers to improper fractions first. Then from there on, we'll keep whatever denominators are already there. We don't have to switch it to a common. Decide up front if our answer is positive or negative so that we don't forget it at the end. We'll reduce as we go and then make sure that our answer is in simplest form when we're done. And change back to a mixed number if we need to. So on this one, we've got 2/5 of 1 2/3, or 2/5 times 1 2/3. The first thing I have to do is change this mixed number to an improper fraction. The way that I do that is I multiply 1 times 3 and I add 2. So I've got 2/5 times 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5/3. Now I've got my multiplication set up and I can cross reduce. 5 goes into 5. These two both have a common factor of 5 once. 5 goes into 5 once, and now I can multiply straight across. 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, and so my answer here is 2/3. On this next one, we have two mixed numbers that we have to change to be improper fractions. So the first one I'm going to do 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21 over 5, times 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15 over 7. I'm going to look at my numbers across from each other to see if they have a common factor that I can cross-reduce. Again, you don't have to cross-reduce, but it makes things a little bit easier. It makes the multiplication a little bit easier, so you don't have to do 21 times 15. And it makes it so that your answer is in simplest form if you do it correctly as well, so that's a nice benefit as well, that you don't have to simplify at the very end. So on this one, 5 and 15 have a common factor of 5. So 5 can go into 5 once, and 5 can go into 15 3 times. Then 7 can go into 7 once, and 7 can go into 21 3 times. So we've got 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. So I've got 9 over 1, which then gives me my whole number of just 9. So 4 and 1/5 times 2 and 1/7 is equal to 9. Next, we've got negative 6 and 2/3 times 4 and 2/5. A negative times a positive is a negative, so I'm going to automatically put my negative sign here with my answer so I don't forget it at the end. When we have two mixed numbers, remember that we have to change them both to improper before we can do any kind of multiplication. So 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20 over 3, and that's negative. Times 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. Keep my denominator the same, which is 5. And then I'm going to look to cross reduce. I know that 5 can go into 20 and 5 can go into 5, so I'm going to cross reduce. 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 24 times. 3 and 22 cannot cross reduce, and so I'm ready now to do my multiplication straight across. 4 times 22 is 88, and that's negative, because a negative times a positive is negative. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So now I've got negative 88 over 3, and so I'm going to do my division here to see how many times 3 goes into 88, and 3 goes into 8 twice. I multiply and get 6, and bring down my 8. 3 goes into 28 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. And I subtract and get 1. So I've got 29 with 1 remaining, so that means that I have 1/3 left. So negative 88 over 3 is equal to negative 29 and 1/3. So negative 6 and 2/3 times 4 and 2/5 is negative 29 and 1/3. At this point in time, I would challenge you to pause the video and try this last one on your own, and then unpause the video to see if you got it correct. So I start off by looking at my signs. A negative times a negative is a positive, so I don't need to put anything with my answer. I need to change my my mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 5 times 7 is 35, plus 1 is 36 over 7. And that's negative, times 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 4, and that's also negative. Now I'm looking to cross-reduce. I know that 4 can go into 4 and 36, so I can cross-reduce these two. 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 36 9 times. 11 and 7 cannot cross-reduce, so I'm just going to multiply straight across now. Negative 9 times negative 11 is positive 99, and 7 times 1 is 7. Now I do have to change my improper fraction back to a mixed number, and so I'm going to do that by doing dividing. The fraction bar tells me to divide, so I'm going to do 99 divided by 7, and 7 goes into 9 once. I subtract and bring down and get 29. 7 goes into 29 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. I subtract and get 1 as my remainder. And so 7 goes into 99 14 times with 1 remaining, so it's 14 and 1/7 is my final answer. Negative 5 and 1/7 times negative 2 and 3/4 is positive 14 and 1/7.